What's up, everybody? Dan Trachtenberg's newest entry into the Predator franchise hit theaters this weekend, following Prey with Amber Midthunder, and I believe he did the recent animated movie too. I just haven't seen that one yet. But today, we're talking about Predator Badlands. Let's dive in. I want to get my review started here talking about the visuals in the movie because they were very interesting to me. Now, before I start rambling and get off track like I always do, I do want to make sure I say they were consistently good throughout the movie. There was never, a time where I was like, whoa, that wasn't finished, or just anything that, caught my eye in a bad way. However, the two planets, Yatja Prime, and I'm blanking on the other one, but it's the one that he hunts on most of the movie, the most dangerous planet in the universe. They're not ideal places for stunning visuals. So they kind of naturally hold the movie back throughout, but they do get creative with a lot of, the plants, the nature, and the deadly whatevers on this planet, kind of taking what could have been a very boring setting and spicing it up. Things like the branch monster from when he first arrived on that planet, not just being, some bland brown tree, but having that little red flare to it. It's just a bit extra. All of Deck's weapons always draw your attention too. I thought the VFX on those was absolutely outstanding, and not to mention the work they did with all the other creatures in this movie, including the Kalisk, which had a really cool exterior design. And since I just mentioned the Kalisk, it felt like there was a great crossover in the DNA Venn diagram between them and the Predators, especially considering the Yatja bonds with both the parent and the child. But it was truly, the visual similarity that did it for me. I don't know if that's something that has already been explained in this universe or by Dan Trachtenberg, if there's any relation there, but I was definitely thinking about that possibility during the movie. Another thing they did to keep things interesting with these kind of boring based planets was making sure that there's always great detail in the background, from the second war on Yacha Prime to the different ships we see and the most dangerous planet too. If I didn't know what I was watching, I would have believed it was Denis Villeneuve and Greg Fraser's Arrakis at the start of this movie. With that being said, I want to shift the focus to the story that we got in this movie. The approach they took to this entry in the franchise ended up working much better than I thought it would based off the trailers. Deck and Thea were a phenomenal duo, and the journey of them losing their families in two different ways. One, it's almost too much love between the brothers, and the other, it's kind of just a lack of love with the sisters to finding each other a new family in a new way. It was nice. The first 45 minutes rock, and it was my favorite part of the movie. They set up the brother relationship very well, and very quick for that matter, and it honestly is the reason this movie worked for me. If you don't care about Deck's brother and their fucked up family, I'd assume it'd be pretty tough to really buy in on everything going on. For me, it was instantaneous, and oh, that revenge that he got at the end of the movie was so sweet. But I'm getting ahead of myself now, jumping over the half hour in the middle. That was the only place the movie struggled, in my opinion, and it's not that it was, bad or anything, it's just kind of slow, and the duo is broken up before the final stretch. Which I guess that kind of paid off with Thea's legs leading Deck around. That was a great bit, and it was very reminiscent of R2 and 3PO on Geonosis for me as a big Star Wars fan, so it wasn't all that bad. Then the final 30 minutes got the train back on the tracks, solidifying it as a win for the franchise. Badlands was at its best when Dak was hauling Theo around like Chewie and 3PO in Empire Strikes Back. I got lots of Star Wars vibes with this movie, lots of Dune vibes. It was like, those two, which funny enough are related in a sense, were vacationing in this Predator alien universe. It was awesome. Next up, I want to briefly touch on the score of this movie, which was solid overall, but there's one moment that'll stick with me, and it ties back to the opening scene. The score there is really what reminded me of Dune. It felt like Hans Zimmer's score for the Harkonnen controlled Arrakis. Like, I've literally mistaken the trailer the first time I saw it for a Dune trailer because of the combo, but the score was a great amplifier for this crazy hunt. Then before I get into the action that made this one so wild, I did want to touch on the cast, even though it's limited because it's a lot of yachtjas, just guys in those suits, and also we just meet some synths towards the end of the movie, but other than that, it's a whole lot of creatures in this movie. Dimitri Schuster-Koloamatangi, and I know I mispronounced it, I'm sorry, I'd mispronounce it if I knew how to say it. He was damn good at making sure that this gruesome predator had some emotion, and the makeup department that made that possible for him deserves a ton of credit too. But let's be honest, it was Elle Fanning's movie, whether it was Tessa the Warrior or Thea the Genius, she was simply magnificent. Finally, we got to talk about the action in this one because I was worried that the PG-13 rating would kind of hold the movie back in that regard, and thank God I was wrong. From the get-go, where we see the food chain on Yacha Prime, then nailing that brotherly love, as I said before, it was huge. Not only was it a great, hook for the emotional side of things with the movie, but it sets the floor where the ceiling should be for the so-called weak link deck. He's got serious grit. Then we get to the most dangerous planet in the universe or whatever, where that grit needs to be on display, and that's an endless supply of epic fights. Well, for the most part. I say that because I didn't love the fact that he's fighting the trees when he arrives on the planet, despite the visual compliments that I paid that section of the movie earlier in my review. I know they're super trees, and it's, proving that even the plants here are dangerous. I just would have loved to see him mollywop one of them birds that attack him when he gets there, but I guess it kind of would have been a little bit repetitive because he does fight one later. That was really the only bit of action I didn't enjoy in the movie, though, between the Yacha arsenal and the ferociousness of both the Kalisk. Even if the little guy was cuter than its parent, it was more than enough. Like, the fact that the movie can't happen if he doesn't armor up in that beast's mouth early on and save our duo is both hilarious and kind of perfect for this movie. Overall, I didn't think Predator Badlands was quite as good as Prey. That had a better story in my opinion, but it was still damn good. I've got it as a strong, an emphasis on strong, 7 out of 10, and it's an interesting entry into the franchise. Not necessarily one that I want to see the franchise adapt for every movie or every project, but here and maybe every couple of projects, yeah, I could get behind that. And so that's going to do it for my review of Predator Badlands. As always, I want to know what you guys thought about the movie, so let me know down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.